Pleasure today to moderate a conversation around implementing AI for teaching and learning. I want to take just a moment to say a special thank you to the public school educators who are on our panel today. We are going to take just a minute to introduce them and let you get to know them just a little bit better. So Jean, let's get started with you. Your name, your role, and just a little bit about you, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jean Copen. I am the Assistant Superintendent here at Paradise Valley Unified School District for Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. And I have been in Paradise Valley going into my 8th year, but 30 years in education. So very excited to be here. This is an awesome product. We've had a great experience, and we're just grateful that we get to share our onboarding experience.
Perfect.
So thanks, Jennifer.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jean, for being here. Hannah, on to you.
Hi, I'm Hannah Carnahan. I am a technology integration facilitator for a district, which is a fancy way of saying that I am a teacher on assignment in the IT department. I spent my first 15 years in the district in the math classroom, and then the last 3 in this role with IT.
Perfect. Thank you, Hannah, for being here. Celeste, we're going to go on to you.
I'm Celeste Rogers. I've been with PVUSD this is my 20th year. I teach 5th grade, and I am getting ready. Next year will be a gifted specialist.
Fantastic. Thank you, Celeste, for being here. And we are going to round our panel out with Miss Randy.
Good afternoon or evening, wherever you may be. I am a gifted specialist in the Paradise Valley School District. I've been teaching for 22 years, and I provide accelerated curriculum in math and reading for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade identified gifted children.
Perfect. Thank you, ladies, for being a part of our panel this afternoon and for taking a moment to share a little bit about you and your journey in Paradise Valley. So just a little bit about Khan Academy. As a nonprofit organization, we measure our success as an organization based on the impact that we make on student learning. So everything that we do is held to this particular standard. If it doesn't have an equitable and positive impact on students or the educators who are guiding their learning, then it's not for Khan Academy. And through this innovative approach, our work to support districts has fostered deep learning experiences. And by recognizing this particular perspective, it's reflective, our forward-thinking mindset. We recognize the potential of technology to complement traditional teaching methods and improve student engagement and understanding. And now, ladies and gentlemen, on to our panel of educators. So we are going to start tonight with you, Jean. Want to talk just a little bit as the district administrator. Your district is part of the Arizona Department of Education's statewide initiative to make Khanmigo AI tools free. So what was your initial reaction to getting this news? And then what opportunities did you immediately see for your teachers and students?
Yeah. So our first reaction was very excited. We had heard about this tool, that it was coming. We are already embracing AI in our district in different ways. And this tool was so exciting because it is specifically designed for educators and to be using in the classroom. So we were excited. It also was permitted in elementary school, which we didn't have an AI tool yet. We are not using AI in our elementary. So we thought this is going to be our chance. When my IT director came first, he said, we're getting 200 licenses, and Hannah and I were put on the project together, and we said, let's go. And he came back a week later and said, guess what? I got 2,500 licenses. So we were like, ooh, bigger project. And we started our planning for our teachers. But what we were really looking for as far as teachers, a couple things that we had going into this project that we were very interested in is differentiation. We all know that in the classrooms, differentiation is probably one of the most challenging things that our teachers have to do, is taking each individual skill level into consideration and planning instruction to meet them where they are and bring them up to standards. So we are very hopeful that AI can help us do that better. We also have been talking a lot about how AI can build in efficiencies for the teacher, reduce workload, perhaps, all the planning that they do. AI is a great lesson planning partner, and we have learned a lot about that through Khanmigo. And we consider AI very cutting edge. And so in our district, we have a reputation of being pretty cutting edge with technology. We are a Google district. We've always been pursuing what could be, what could be better in the classroom and support deeper learning. So Khanmigo brought all that. For our kids, it kind of goes to that, how can we personalize better for them? And that leads to better engagement. So we were very interested in looking at engagement and motivation from our kids. And then we are always looking for ways to make students more self-directive. Not need the teacher so much, find your own way. And Khanmigo gives us a tool that they can tap into. We were joking in our little guys' rooms, we say, find 3 before you ask me kind of thing. Now it's ask Khanmigo before you come and ask me. So we're hoping that they start to really embrace it as an extension of their thinking. And it's something that they can use before they have to go and ask the teacher. So those were kind of some of our initial thoughts.
I love that. I love that your opportunities that you immediately saw were how to help both stakeholders, teachers and students. And so often you find a tool and it does one or the other, but not that collective together. And I love that you thought about the differentiation and the personalized learning that sometimes can be very cumbersome and need a little bit of support. On the flip side of that, Jean, I'm sure that there were some initial concerns or apprehension from people in your district. So can you talk just a minute about maybe some of those initial concerns about integrating AI into instruction?
Sure. I think they're kind of the same concerns we have with all technology. AI has brought a new light to these concerns, but with all technology, we're always concerned with ethical use and academic integrity. AI has been a scary thing for teachers. Is it going to give kids all the answers? Are they going to have to work and show us what they've mastered, or is it just going to be given to them? And that's been a scary thing to overcome. So as in this launching of this tool, some of the things we were learning about is how do we use it with integrity to further our standards and further our teaching. We're always concerned about data security and privacy. What goes in AI, where is that going? Just with same with all AI or anything on the internet, we are concerned about data and privacy for our students. We work with children. Their privacy is very important in everything we do. And then just ensuring like a safe environment for kids to be able to work in. AI, like if you're going on Gemini or chat, those are wide open, and that can be very scary for us because we don't know what kids would encounter. But Khanmigo gave us a safer environment. So that was something we were very interested in, is a tool designed specifically for kids. So I think those were kind of our 3 things, but those are the things we are always looking at with technology integration.
So it sounds like you had some great opportunities that you identified, and then you also had these concerns that are very valid concerns. And as you've mentioned, it's not just for AI, it is for technology. Then you had to think through a plan. And so Hannah, I'm going to punt it over to you to talk about your process of planning the implementation of Khan Academy and Khanmigo in Paradise Valley.
Yeah, so like Jean said, initially we thought we were getting 200 licenses, and then it ended up being closer to 2,500 licenses. So not a small pilot, not a small group to just test the waters with. And I think one of the best things that we did was choosing one person to kind of be the liaison between Khan Academy and the district and the teachers. And that's actually the role that I got chosen for. That's how I got pulled into this project. But just having one contact person who can do all of the communication, I think that's absolutely key. When we found out we had so many licenses, we had to decide who's going to get them. So the first group that we thought we would offer them to is our gifted 5th and 6th grade elementary students, because they're already using Khan Academy as their math curriculum. So Khanmigo was a perfect supplement to them already. Then we opened it up to our Title I schools, and then to all of our middle and 5th and 6th grade and then eventually to the high school math teachers. And it was sort of an open application. If you're interested, you can just apply. And it turned out real nice. We actually had about 2,400 students between the teachers that applied for those. And so we didn't have to turn anyone away. So that was awesome. It was a challenge that we weren't able to start the program at the very beginning of the school year, but we didn't know about it. We didn't have the licenses. We didn't have anything set up. So we're very much looking forward to having it from the very beginning of the year next school year. Once we figured out who was going to be part of our pilot, it was time to plan our kickoff and get information to the teachers and to the administrators. So our kickoff was facilitated by Jennifer. Thank you so much. And she was really able to give them a great overview of what our program is going to be like and what the features of Khanmigo are, and to tell teachers about other opportunities for professional learning. So within the Khan Academy platform, there are asynchronous courses for teachers and for students to help them get to know Khan Academy and Khanmigo specifically. So that was really great. We also set up a bunch of professional learning with Jennifer. So we got to choose from a professional learning menu. We got to choose what classes we wanted her to teach our teachers. And she was able to really personalize those for the teachers that showed up to those virtual sessions. And we recorded them so that teachers who weren't able to attend live were able to view them later. She also did office hours for us. And she also did sessions that were geared just toward our administrators, so they knew more about the program and what was going on with their teachers and their students. We thought it was important to get some feedback and some data. So we did send some forms to teachers and students at the beginning and now at the end of the pilot, so we can see what kind of growth we were getting with ease of use and technology and AI in general. We were also curious if students were using Khanmigo in English or in any of the other languages that it's available in, which is really great for our population. Finally, communication. So there's a lot with this, and it's a new tool, and teachers didn't know anything about it at the beginning of this. So communicating the professional learning and all of the resources and the asynchronous options and the forms and the dates and everything. I sent out emails on a regular basis. I tried to do it every 3 to 4 weeks and really pack everything into one communication. So I wasn't sending an email every 3 or 4 days. It felt like there was new information that often, but I wanted to make it as easy and digestible for teachers as possible. So those emails included upcoming opportunities as well as reminders. And I did put all of our recordings and resources in one place for teachers to access. I created a Google site for that. And I think that was also a nice way to package it up all together. Everyone can look for the things that they need in one place.
I love that, Hannah. Thank you for outlining literally from the beginning until where we're meeting with you today, and you outlining your planning process. And it really sounds like you and Jean and the team thought about all of your stakeholders. And I think that's an important point. When you think about implementation, it's not just about the teachers in the classroom. There are a lot of stakeholders that are supporting the work that's done, and providing them, just like teachers provide students with that differentiated learning, providing those differentiated opportunities for professional learning for each of the stakeholders to really make sure that the common message and your communication was very similar. So thank you for that thorough response in outlining your plan. Randy and Celeste, I'm gonna come over to you for a second. We've heard from Jean and we've heard from Hannah kind of the vision and their steps that they took even before you guys were brought on board. But I want us to think now about the opportunity that you were given. And each one of you, I would love to hear, why were you particularly interested in piloting Khanmigo with your students? And Celeste, let's go ahead and start with you.
Hi. So when that opportunity came, I got an email and I was like, that would be amazing. I work at a Title I school, and I just thought that AI is very popular. And I thought it'd be a great way to introduce it to my students. And I have students that are non-English speaking all the way up to gifted. And because they don't have a lot of experience. A lot of these kids don't have computers at home, or they just don't understand the whole AI, because it's on Google all over now. They're seeing it all the time. And I just figured this is a start. And as they get older, they're going to see it a lot more when they get into junior high, high school, and college.
Fantastic. Randy, what about you?
Well, I have to say the gifted department in our school district has sort of always been on the cutting edge of technology. So we've done a lot of pilot programs with the technology department throughout all the years I've been with PV. And I've been using Khan Academy in the classroom for quite a few years. So this was just a really easy transition to just continue piloting and bring it on board. Gifted kids are really curious and they really love to learn and they love to go beyond the curriculum. So this was a great opportunity for them to go deeper and go beyond the curriculum and have that AI as a partner to help them learn this material that they are now learning on their own. And they would come in so excited, either Khanmigo had helped them with a concept they didn't understand, or Khanmigo gave them an alternative solution to a problem. I have one student in particular who loves to challenge Khanmigo and just say, is there another way you could do this problem? So, I was just excited to pilot another piece of technology for my kids. And I want to just echo what Celeste said. AI is out there, and we need to get the kids engaged with AI and understand what AI is.
I love that. And so both of you raised your hand and said you wanted to be a part of this. And you knew that that was going to come with some things, some action steps, right? And obviously, professional learning is one of those pieces. This was a new tool. You guys in your GT program, as Hannah mentioned, and as Jean mentioned, utilizing Khan Academy courses for your GT program, but then adding that Khanmigo piece. So having the AI powered tool to support personalized learning was a new piece for you guys. So I want you to talk for just a second, maybe think about and share a specific example of professional learning and how that helped you utilize the data, utilize your insights, just how you integrated that into your classroom and personalized learning for your students. So Randy, we're going to start with you. I'm going to go backwards this time.
Perfect. So professional learning came not only from you, Jennifer, but it also came from my PLC group, from when we would meet and we would discuss what we were doing in the classroom. And one thing that was revealed to me, and I honestly don't remember who told me about it, but was to look at the chat logs of the kids, because you could see the questions that they were asking, and then I could project those questions and we can talk about was this a good question to ask, and kind of evaluate it and come up with what were better questions to ask. I utilized not only Khanmigo in the math curriculum, but I also brought in the historical chats with historical figures, and that was really interesting to project their chats and evaluate the different avenues that the kids took when chatting with the historical figure. Some kids only wanted to know about what happened during that time in that person's life, whereas some people were asking the historical figure, well, what do you think of modern day things? And they were trying to get a historical figure to say, well, what do you think of what's happening today in the world? And it was really interesting to share those chats. And if it wasn't for whoever told me about that, I wouldn't have done it. And it was actually a really positive thing in the classroom to share those.
I love that. I love that you took the qualitative data from the student chats and use that to help train your students, essentially, showing them and helping them develop those effective learner behaviors when they are utilizing technology. And I feel like that is a very important and just impactful way to use that data for sure. Celeste, what about you? Professional learning that has helped support you in personalizing learning for your students with Khanmigo.
Well, like Randy said, what I noticed from like the beginning to now, they've gotten better at asking questions instead of just saying, I don't understand how to do this problem. They're more specific in what their needs are. And they know that I can read their chats. So I think that helps with them stay on track. But we've done a couple things. I do like the fact that like we're doing the American Revolution right now. And so I can pull some texts in and I can do different Lexile levels and I can give questions. The question maker through the Khanmigo, I can have them do questions in those kids' Lexile levels. So that's been pretty neat. We were talking about today, a great way for the poem maker is what did you learn? Have a class conversation and make it into a poem. And that is also through there, the AI. So I love it. It's also helped me pull in small groups. If I need to do a small group, it helps me with a lesson for that particular standard. I've used it for quite a few things.
I love that. And I love that both of you touched on, again, that qualitative student insight and how you draw that in and not only personalize for that particular student, but also utilize that as exemplar examples and continue conversation. And I think that that's one of those pieces that is just enriching their experience. And it's not just a tool that you have now put in their hands. Thinking about a new implementation, there's always a place where you might come across some speed bumps or some roadblocks. So I want you to think for just a second and let's talk about maybe what you have seen as the biggest roadblock to student success using AI. So that's the first part. And then how did you frame what happened in your classroom to help overcome that particular roadblock? So what was the roadblock? And then how did you frame your implementation and integration in your classroom? And Randy, we will go ahead and start with you.
I think the biggest misconception among the kids was they thought that Khanmigo would give them the answer. They thought that it was going to be a big cheat. So they didn't have to watch the videos. They didn't have to read the articles. They could jump straight to a unit test. The first thing is Khanmigo doesn't help on a unit test. Khanmigo will only help on practice. So that was like their first big, aha, wait a second. This isn't doing what I thought it was going to do. And so it doesn't give them the answer. It helps them along. So I think that was the first roadblock with the kids because some of them were like, well, it's not giving me the answer. So why would I use it? I have a lot of kids in the gifted classrooms who like to skip the videos because they feel like they could figure it out. And so Khanmigo, even though they skipped the videos when they were in practice, Khanmigo was helping them through. And they don't need all the explanation that might come in a video. And I think that's why they get bored by the videos. So Khanmigo gave them just enough information for them to go, oh, I get this now. I can do this. I don't have to watch a 5-minute video. I got it in just 2 or 3 questions. So that was a big thing. And just to let them know that it's a coach. It's not a crutch. It's a coach. You're at home. You refuse to watch the video. You refuse to read the article. I'm not there to help you. Khanmigo's there to help you do it. And I think that's one of the biggest roadblocks. And then on the teacher side of things, I think a big roadblock is it's another thing to learn and it's cumbersome. But it's not. It's a really easy thing to play around with. And I played around with the newsletter, the class newsletter part of it. And it's amazing. You just put in a couple of things and it kind of knows you and it starts it's just amazing how it quickly can create a weekly recap newsletter for you. And then there's the IEP. If you are going into an IEP, it can write up the IEP for you and it's amazing. So I think the roadblock for teachers is that it's another thing to learn. We're constantly being hit with new curriculum or new things, whatever it is to do in the classroom. But this is a really easy one to just play around with. It is it is very approachable for any teacher, no matter their level of technological use and experience. So
I love that. So kind of having to explore the kids and you as a teacher, explore and see that Khanmigo is not like other AI tools for sure.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
its intention and its purpose is strictly for student learning. I love that.
Yeah.
Celeste, what about you? What did you see as a roadblock, and how did you frame your integration to overcome that?
Same thing with her, the frustration that it won't just give them the answer. But I also, what I found, because we have totally different kids, is that a lot of my kids struggle with spelling, and they feel embarrassed to be able to do that, like talk to text thing with them. So what I found is if I had kids that were struggling with that and they didn't want to talk to it, I would have them sit by other students that weren't as fearful of it, that had no problem talking to their computers, so that the spelling, because I would get a lot of chats that would come in and the spelling is off. And so Khan would send it to me saying, what is, what is this? So yeah, they were embarrassed to do it. But when I had other students doing it, they felt more comfortable. And that really helped them learn how to, again, ask the questions. And they didn't have to spell it, and didn't have to worry about where they were academically in their reading and writing. So that was my biggest thing. I would just have them sit with somebody that maybe they would feel more comfortable with.
I love that. Thank you. Ladies, we're going to go back to the professional learning because, as you mentioned, Randy, with teachers, sometimes learning new technology is cumbersome, and there's a lot of features, and it can feel clunky, and it can feel a lot on top of all of the things that you're already doing. And so thinking about the professional learning, again, thinking about your PLC and your support system, as it relates to AI and specifically Khanmigo, how did that really impact collaboration and just knowledge sharing amongst your PLC, your team, and your learning community that you have?
Again, in the gifted department, we do have a culture of sharing. As a gifted content replacement specialist, I am a lone wolf in my building. And so when I meet with my PLC, it's time we crave together to share what we do. And when we share, we actually do it. Like, it's not just somebody who says, it was one of the teachers who shared the poem, like Celeste said, taking what you learned in the lesson and having Khan create the poem. A lot of us hadn't experimented with that yet. And somebody experimented in our PLC in just the way that Celeste pointed out. And it was like an aha moment. And then we all take that time to play with it and do it. And I know, Jennifer, in your trainings, you did a great job of giving us, 5, 10, whatever amount of minutes to take what you had just shown us and try to do it ourselves. So, you modeled it for us, we practiced it, and then it made it easier to bring back in the classroom. So between and the fact that, like Hannah mentioned, those recordings are on a site that we can access. I've gone back to one of your recordings 3 times because I just keep forgetting the steps to do something because I don't do it that often. So having those recordings there is really helpful. And then my PLC group is fabulous. And we have we have a Google Classroom that we share. And so we put ideas in our Google Classroom all the time when we come up with them.
I love that. Thank you. Celeste, what about you? How do you have sharing? How have you seen AI just promote that collaboration amongst the PLC community that you happen to be in?
I was going to say the same thing. It was really nice being able to have, because I wasn't able to make it to the meetings, so I was able to see you, go back to the videos, and the self-paced professional development in Khan Academy, and they also have the Khanmigo, the classes that you can take in there. I've been in there many times trying to figure out how I do certain steps. And also I have contacted Hannah quite a few times, like, help. So it's been wonderful being able to see the videos that you've done, contact Hannah, and also having all of the stuff in Khan Academy, because it really is all there, the videos. And so once you've gone through it once, then you can kind of go to places that you really need versus in order.
Sure, absolutely. Ladies, thank you so much for giving us a little insight into your village as you have it in a PLC, and just the collaborative culture that it seems like surrounds you and Paradise Valley in general. I do have a question. If you were going to tell someone who is getting Khanmigo for the first time, what aspect of professional learning experiences have you found to be the most valuable in preparing you to feel confident and effectively use Khanmigo? So, specific aspects, what would you say to someone who is brand new to Khanmigo and is just getting it in their district? Celeste, we'll start with you.
I was actually talking to teachers today. I really love the Khanmigo page and all of the AI stuff in there, and like we pulled up stuff, and I talked to them to show them how to do it, and really just don't be scared of it. There's so much of it, so don't take it all in. Take pieces of it and do a little bit, and then add more to it. But it's wonderful.
I love that. Thank you. Randy, what about you? What would you tell a brand new person to Khanmigo that has just gotten it in their district?
Don't be afraid of it. I mean, just exactly what Celeste said. Like, don't be afraid of it. It's a great tool. There's lots of different aspects of it. Like Jean mentioned, there's aspects to help take things off your plate as a teacher to make your job easier. And then there's the aspect that helps the children. And pick and choose and find somebody to partner up with. If there's a teacher that you can meet with on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis, and say, hey, I tried this week, I tried that this week. And also, don't be afraid to let the kids go, because Khanmigo is a tattletale. It is amazing when you get the emails that Khanmigo is telling on your students, because you're going to have those kids that push it and say things that are not appropriate to Khanmigo because they're not talking to a live person. And Khanmigo will report them. You will see that email immediately, and you will get a printout of the chat and then decide how you want to address it, whether you get the parents involved. There was one that we actually, I do have to say, it was an SEL issue, and we had to get a psych and the principal involved in it. So don't be afraid, because there are guardrails up there. So don't be afraid to let the kids go on it, because I think a lot of times we're afraid of that.
I think the kids really liked the fact that they didn't have to come straight to the teacher. Also, they were able to ask Khanmigo whatever they needed to, and they were also like, there was like steps to us. Ask Khanmigo, ask your partner, then come see the teacher. And the kids, by the time it got past Khanmigo or a friend, they didn't have a lot of questions to ask, because it was already answered for them.
So it sounds like that both of you have really embraced various levels of professional learning, whether it be with me or a Khan Academy other staff member, the asynchronous professional learning, the professional learning that's provided inside of the platform, and then just the professional learning amongst each other in your PLCs, that collaboration time. And it sounds like you are taking those opportunities to continuously learn and grow. And you haven't really faced Khanmigo with this idea of, I have to learn it all right now. Randy, I love that you said you don't have to do it all at one time, piecemeal it. And I love that you mentioned, watching a recording 3 times to remember how to do a particular tool or create a resource. And so I think that that's an important aspect to take away from that particular question. Jean, I'm going to hop over to talk about the administrative side of things for just a second. So from an administrative perspective, how has access to professional learning for Khanmigo contributed to the overall success and outcome that you've seen in student learning?
Yeah, this is a great question. And Celeste and Randy have done a beautiful job illustrating a lot of what the professional development is doing for teachers, the professional learning. So, when we think of, because student learning is the pinnacle of what we are trying to achieve with whatever tools we bring in the classroom, with whatever we are asking our teachers to do with kids in the classroom, needs to equal learning, better learning. One of the things that we have in Paradise Valley is we have a strategic plan, as a lot of districts do, and this really outlines what we consider positive outcomes for kids. We have a portrait of a graduate that is a visual we use throughout that illustrates the characteristics, the learnings, what they're going to carry into their future. One of our strategic goal areas is to increase we call agility and resilience within the digital environment. And so that's an excellent goal. And as technology accelerates, that has to be a learning outcome for us. That has to be a positive that our seniors graduate with as they go into their post-secondary experiences. That will not happen without our teachers. And we know that professional learning for the teachers is paramount in getting student learning. So a couple of the things like professional learning is bringing through Khanmigo for our teachers and allowing us to explore this space of AI that is coming at us very quickly. And teachers don't just learn AI. They're learning curriculum. They're learning strategies. They're learning behavior management. So AI has just accelerated so quickly that we're trying to move as fast as we can to keep on that innovative front. But it's allowing our teachers to really build their confidence and their competence with this tool, because one thing teachers have to do, they don't just use the tool. They have to effectively integrate it into instruction. That is a whole nother skill level. And they ultimately are looking at our state standards and saying, how do we get kids to those state standards? How do we master? And for our gifted classrooms, they're accelerated. So they're even lifting them higher into enrichment. So this professional learning has brought them confidence and will bring them more confidence as we get deeper into the learning. And it makes them just more confident instructor. And that's what we want our teachers to feel, because it is scary to go into a classroom where you're in charge of the learning and the tool is a foreign tool to you, right? And you have to integrate this. One of the things that we've been really interested in the pilot through professional learning is we're absolutely looking at student learning, but we're looking at the behaviors kids have around this tool, what teachers are having to do in the classroom to manage, because this is another thing that they're managing. We're interacting with a bot, a chat bot. And so what does that look like? What kinds of parameters do teachers have to put in the classroom? Because we would love to expand this learning. This is a pilot environment, but what we're learning will benefit more and more teachers through our district. So we were very interested in that as we kind of learn more and more. You've heard Randy and Celeste talk about how they're collaborating together. The more teachers know about something, the more they want to talk about it. So it's bringing up their confidence level to be in PLCs, to reach out, to learn more. And so that's just been amazing. And Celeste mentioned that she is in a Title I school, and there were some parts of our population that we're very interested in AI helping us close gaps for student outcomes, and not just learning gaps, but technology gaps. All of our homes don't have the luxury of technology at home, so they get it at school. So we know that we're bringing some of our kids the first experience with these cutting edge tools. And that's a responsibility we take very seriously. So those are learning outcomes for a lot of our kids that they only get at school. So we're looking at our EL populations, our students with disabilities, our students who are living in poverty. We're looking at gap fillers here. So AI, we have been looking at that through professional development. How can we bring more of that to our classrooms and really get better outcomes for some of those populations that we struggle with? And so this is a tool that we were very hopeful might help us with, again, that differentiation, and really bringing them some specialized learning to that student to help them feel more confident and bridge the gaps. But without professional learning, this would not be possible. We would not be able to achieve this. So from my perspective, that is like one of the most important pieces of this is if your teachers are not confident, they can't effectively use a tool. So you have to invest that time and energy and organization into giving them tools. And you've heard that, I forget who said needed to go back 3 times, but you have to make them accessible because it's not one and done. Our teachers are just like our learner. You don't teach somebody one time and expect them to know it. It's exposure, and then we go back, and when I need it, I need it. So I need a place to go back and relearn. So that has just been a huge part of our implementation.
Thank you, Jean. It sounds like you are looking at your teachers much like you want your teachers to look at the students. You're modeling for them, they're learning, you're modeling for them, raising up and finding particular focus areas of impact. You mentioned closing gaps, and that's all differentiation. Those are all things that we want teachers to do for students. And so I love the trickle down impact that having that professional learning, setting those expectations with the teachers, it provides the opportunity and space for them to learn this tool and then effectively implement that into their classroom. And you're right, it's not just about the student learning, it's also about those learner behaviors. And what are those good learner behaviors to get them in and working on technology that they're going to carry all the way through 12th grade graduation and then post K-12. So thank you for raising all of that up. Teachers, I want to turn it back to you for just a second. Since we are talking about and centered our thinking around student learning, I would love to know what changes in student confidence and efficacy have you observed in your own classrooms since implementing Khanmigo and Khan Academy in the fall or in this spring semester? Let's go with Randy.
I've seen the confidence grow in my kids in terms of feeling that they could get mastery on Khan Academy at a quicker pace than they were doing, because I do require that they do 10 to 15 minutes of Khan a day, whether it be at school or at home. And they have mastery goals for the grade level accelerated that we're working on, and also the grade level that they actually are on, to review those standards and make sure that there are no holes. And, you know, sometimes they were getting stuck at home, and Khan Academy, because it was helping them along, that they became more engaged in Khan. It was like they wanted to go home and do that work on Khan. They wanted to see their mastery move along. I do have to say, I have one student, when we completed the exit survey recently for Khan, I had one student who said, "Can I be honest in my comment?" And I was like, "Of course you can be honest in your comment." And I thought this was really interesting. He has identified himself as a visual learner, so he prefers the videos over using Khanmigo's help. And I thought that was really good for 2 reasons. It helped reinforce what kind of learner he is and what he needs to learn. So Khanmigo helped him learn that, because he wasn't finding Khanmigo as engaging and helpful as his classmates. And then he realized why, because he's more of a visual learner and he likes seeing the videos and seeing it all sketched out for him, why it's being explained to him by Sal Khan. So yeah, I think their confidence has grown tremendously. And again, they're gifted kids. They push through to get those mastery goals and go beyond them. I mean, that's just who they are. That's what they like to do.
They want those purple boxes. I love that. Thank you, Randy. Celeste, what about you? How have you seen your students' confidence and efficacy change since implementing Khan Academy and Khanmigo?
For some of my kids, they loved it. If they used it, they seem to have more confidence to work on their own, and without as much support from me. Some students were kind of resistant to it, and I was able to, and they struggled. So, and again, I'm having all different levels here. A lot of ELLs, a lot of kiddos with IEPs. And so those kiddos, when they were struggling, it was nice. I could just work with those students while I was working with them. The ones that seemed to get more confident with it were able to move ahead and do the things that they needed to do with it. And really, as time went by, I had a lot of kids that were in my group at the beginning that moved on because they felt more confident as they learned more about it and the more they practiced it.
I love
So
that.
it wasn't as big of a group by this time this year, because now we're doing it daily, about 15 minutes or so. And so I don't have my group's not as big anymore. It's definitely, the more they used it, the more confident they got. And I always tell them, you need to learn how to learn. That's a big thing. And I think Khanmigo is helping them with that.
Living in that space between I don't know and I do know, and that learning space, and that's hard, definitely. Thank you, ladies, so much for giving us just a small little insight into your classrooms. Jean and Hannah, I'm going to turn back to you as our time closes to an end. Jean, what's next for Paradise Valley? What is your focus for the 25-26 school year?
Yeah, so we are really excited because our state has extended our pilot for us through the next school year. So we're just thrilled about this because it gives us more time to learn. But we have been collecting data all through different kinds of data all through this pilot. And so one of our next steps, immediate next steps, is kind of a comprehensive review of what we have so far. We're going to be looking at what the teachers said on their survey, what the students said. We're really interested in that perspective or that perceptual data. Then we're also going to be looking at, Khanmigo gives us really great usage reports. So we can see where usage was strong. We're very interested if there were areas or like schools or populations that we don't have that strong data in. We're looking forward to reaching out to those teachers to see one of the questions you asked, what were the barriers or obstacles? So if there's an obstacle, we want to work on that next year. And our real purpose in this is to eventually expand. I mean, we want to bring this to the district in a better package than we're probably receiving it in the pilot because we're in learning mode right now. But we'd like to offer our teachers eventually, here's the tool, here's how we learn about it, here's the best professional learning for you. Here's what we've learned, how you have to manage the tool in your classroom. Here's some of the best management strategies that the teachers that were in the pilot learned. Here's some pitfalls you could avoid that we hit, but we can give you that gift of not having those. So it's really all about learning more next year and then eventually expanding, because this is the future here. AI is definitely going to be a part of our world going forward, and to stay relevant, we know we need to stay with this. So those are kind of some of our very next steps.
I love that. Thank you. Last question, and Hannah, we're going to start with you first. If you could offer any advice to any district about the importance of professional learning, an implementation plan when adopting an AI tool like Khanmigo, what would be your key message?
Yeah, so you could have access to the best, most wonderful tool ever invented. But if you don't know how to use it and you haven't seen what it can do, and you haven't taken time to think about how it can be implemented in your classrooms, it's never going to help your students. So I really believe that the professional learning is the key to success.
Love that. Thank you, Hannah. And Jean, close us out today. Your key message to share with other districts.
So I cannot stress what Hannah just said. Professional learning in anything new, and especially AI, is not an add-on. It is like the bedrock of what you have to plan for. And the way we approach professional development is key concepts. Teachers have to know why we're doing this. And so the pilot, we spent onboarding, we had a discussion, why is AI? We had to reassure them we're not replacing anyone. This is an extension, and this is an enrichment tool that we're using in our classrooms. So teachers have to understand, why are we doing this? That's huge in professional learning. And then you provide them the how are we going to do this? I kind of like thinking about this too. And I think Randy, in her PLCs, they're starting to explore like, what if? Like, now we kind of know the how. So like, what's next? Like, how can we collaborate? What if we did this? What if we did that? And that's a huge part of professional learning. I love when teachers start to talk like that, because that means they're kind of past the how and they're starting to get to like, how do I really integrate this into what I do? And then, you know, eventually we're going to have models here. We already have models because our teachers love to see it done. You know, when we go large scale in our district, I think one of the things as districts are implementing is we call it finding our excellence within. You're going to find teachers that have nailed it, and we can put them up in front of others to learn from our own peers. And I think that we really value that, you know, highlighting our own teachers' learning and then giving that to teachers, because some teachers just say, show me how to do this, and I will mimic you for a while until I get on my feet, and then I will take off with it. So those would be my best pieces of advice. But that professional learning is just really what Hannah and I probably spent 90% of our time talking about as we were kind of planning the rollout.
I love that. Thank you so much. So Paradise Valley today has strategically implemented the Khan Academy platform and our AI tool, Khanmigo, as you have heard from all of these fabulous panelists. I do want to drop in the chat for you a link. If you are interested in a partnership with us or you have questions, just click on that link and you'll be able to access it and learn a little bit more about partnering with our team. All registrants today will be receiving the recording in a follow-up email in the next few days. I want to thank so much to our panelists for sharing your time and experiences with Khan Academy and Khanmigo and the impact that it has had on student learning successes in Paradise Valley. Thank everyone for attending this afternoon. We hope to connect with you again real soon. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.